Hey, you are in big trouble. I looked at the analytics and 90% of you twats didn't subscribe when you watched part 1 of this series. I am more disappointed in you than your father is, assuming you even have one. Welcome back, gentlemen, to my Dark Souls Retrospective series. I say gentlemen and not ladies and gentlemen because it's very unlikely that women watch these kinds of videos. Real women, I mean. Some of you might be making your girlfriends watch this with you for some quality time, but I bet they're probably just looking at their phone the whole time, waiting for me to stop talking. Yeah, I see you there scrolling TikTok. Put your fucking phone down and appreciate the art of game design with your nice, loving boyfriend. Jokes aside, this is a formal video series where I go in-depth with the level and encounter design of Dark Souls, and why something is objectively good or bad through my observations. I like to talk about the challenges this game presents to the player, as well as the set of tools they're given to complete said challenges. That being said, if you haven't seen the last two parts of this video series, you should go watch them, because from the title, you can see that this is part 3. If you haven't seen the last two episodes, I advise you to go watch them to get the full context. Context? What? I advise you to go and watch the other two to get the full context of what I'm going to be discussing today. In the last videos, I started from the beginning of Dark Souls in part 1, and left off at the second Bell of Awakening in part 2, which brings us to everything after. Now, without further ado, let's get into the first area of discussion. The Darkroot Garden is one of the areas of all time. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad by any means, it's just pretty forgettable. It's just a generic forest area. I don't really know what to say about it other than that it's pretty linear and it rarely opens up into big wide open spaces filled with trees rather than interconnected level layouts and design that makes sense. But, you know, that's just par for the course when it comes to these kinds of levels. Like the depths, this is another one of those instances where an optional area kind of falls flat. The Darkroot Garden is just a boring level. The enemy variety is kind of mid with these tree people. You can get the drop on if you notice their heads sticking out of the ground. And also these big stone knight dickheads who can cast a spell that freezes you in place so they can slice you to pieces. And also the area boss sucks! If you're not a ranged build, the Moonlight Butterfly is one of those annoying DPS checks in the early game for melee builds, because it's a lot of waiting around and dodging weird attack patterns that to this day I still barely know how to dodge because their hitboxes are so wonky. I just tank the damage and move on. If you're magic or ranged, you can just get an easy victory with this boss, and it doesn't even feel like that worth it because you only get like 6,000 souls, right? Hey, at least the boss looks pretty and the music track is very pleasant. Okay, I'm gonna stop dicking around and talk about what you actually came here for. After you beat the big titty boss GF in Blighttown and watch the cutscene when you ring the bell that shows you directly where to go next, it's time to climb the fuck out of this shit-stained sewer area and make our way to said destination, which is coincidentally one of my favorite areas in the game. Actually, scratch that. Nearly every area so far has been my favorite area in the game. Why is Sense Fortress one of the best levels in Dark Souls? Well, because look at how it fucking starts. Right off the bat, there's a pressure plate that shoots steel darts at you, which really hurt. This is teaching you to look out for pressure plates, and in case you haven't gotten the message yet, rushing in without paying attention to your surroundings is a bad idea. Dark Souls has a lot of this bullshit where they hide enemies around corners to ambush you, but this teaches the player something. The enemies are not going to fight fair. They will rush you, they will gang up on you, and they will kill you. But that also means you, the player, should fight unfairly too. You should take advantage of their attack patterns in your environment, lead them over cliffs and shit, exploit the AI. The game wants you to do this. It's also not hard to discover this kind of shit because Dark Souls is a little old and janky at this point. Yeah, as much as the control is responsive and smooth, by standards of 2023 and 3D action games in general, this game is a little jank. But I think all good video games have a reasonable amount of jank in them, and that's what makes some games truly special. Just look at System Shock or Devil May Cry for examples. Anyways, in the first room, you've got two snake warriors coming at you, which are easy to parry once you get the timing down, but I decided to get footage of me fighting them how an average player would, taking it slow, tanking hits with a shield, dodging attack patterns, and punishing accordingly. The snake warriors don't do that much damage, but they will hurt you. Just just like any other enemy, so you do need to take them seriously. Once you get into the main area of the fortress, you're going to start noticing the hazardous level design, for lack of a better term. These big axe blades swing in predictable arcs and have gaps between them that you can run to before being knocked over the edge into the tar pits below. You should take advantage of this because you're going to be doing it for the rest of the level. On this overpass, there's a cobra wizard who throws bolts of lightning at you, but straight ahead is another snake in front. This is the first of the dickhead challenges, and here's why. As soon as you step into the cobra wizard's field of view, he can start shooting lightning bolts at you, and the snake in front is programmed to run and attack the instant you pass the swinging blade. This leaves the player with a couple of options. Either run on ahead and fight the snake on this narrow passageway, or you can run back to try and bait him to walk into the swinging blades. But there is always the possibility that your timing can be off and he follows you all the way back into the previous room. But then again, dealing with him in there is still way safer than dealing with him on that narrow bridge with the wizard shooting you from above. However, if you do want to rush ahead, this obstacle is still very doable if you manage to stay under the overpass and keep the snake from pushing you back, which he will do. His attacks take a sizable chunk of stamina away if you block them, and rolling backwards is not really an option because if you roll out of the overpass, well, you're gonna get sniped. Also, these snake warriors aren't exactly easy to deal with on narrow pathways like this because they have shields and they absorb magic damage pretty effectively too, so unless you can get around to their side and time a shot from your spells, your best bet is to go in sword swinging rather than use magic or ranged attacks. But fuck, killing them on these narrow pathways is a pain in the ass. Up ahead, we finally get to kill the lightning wizard and avoid the arrows that shoot from the wall by stepping on this pressure plate and moving the fuck out of the way. If the player is observant and pays attention, this obstacle is pretty easy to avoid. And now we come into this room, which introduces us to our next obstacle, the boulders. You're introduced to this gameplay concept from a safe distance in this room, where a snake warrior, which I am now just learning they're called serpent soldiers whilst writing the script for this video, is going to be crushed by the boulder, demonstrating to you that there is another hazard up ahead that can leave you like Weird Al at the beginning of UHF. There's a small gap in between the wall and the doorway. You can watch the boulder coming down from this ramp to crush you if you get too close. As soon as the boulder passes, the player has just enough time to run up and reach the second alcove before the boulder hits them. Remember to be careful of the serpent wizard at the top of the ramp, who if you time it right will come rushing down after you and the boulder will crush them too. In the next room, there's a narrow passageway with a pressure plate, which you can lead this snake down the hallway to fight him in the previous room before running past the trap, which yes, you do have enough time to avoid this. Also, by now, you should learn that Sen's Fortress is here to brutalize you with lots of dumb traps like this that are meant to catch you off guard. However, there are ways to tackle these obstacles. As I said, you just need to be patient and careful. Speaking of patience and being careful, you see this chest right here? Notice how it looks a little bit off? This chest is an imposter
from Among Us.
And a very dangerous one at that. Most players will probably open the chest and be eaten alive by this mimic, but I know how to deal with these obstacles as they come along. Unless you're doing a spear build or you want to use lightning damage, killing this mimic isn't required or even that great of an idea. Mimics are dangerous, and if they manage to scoop you up in this tight of a space, they will chomp down on your ass and kill you in seconds. After that obstacle is dealt with though, you want to go up this elevator with the bloodstains on it and get off at the first stop. At that first stop, you have about 1.5 seconds to get away before the elevator goes up just a bit further and impales you in 1,000 tiny spikes. Yeah, fuck you, Miyazaki, you cunt. This won't kill you if you have full health and good armor, but if you're not like that, you're probably fucked. When you get up to this room, turn the lever over this way and send a boulder crashing down to this room, which bursts open this wall, allowing you to free the sorcerer called Big Hat Logan so you can purchase more spells down in Firelink Shrine. Hulk Logan here sells the magic missile of Dark Souls known as Soul Spear. Also be careful about turning this lever, because for some goddamn reason, it resets back to its original direction and can kill you again! Hey, you see this pressure plate? Step on it and backstep immediately, because it shoots 4 arrows at a time from the wall, which can kill you instantly. Be careful and don't let Miyazaki fuck you over some more. This is the worst of the swinging blade obstacles yet, right here. Cause I can't fucking see where I'm going. The level designers knew exactly what they were doing, the fucking cunts. But you don't have enough space and time to run past this if you do it like how you were doing with the other ones. But when you do time it right and run past it, be immediately prepared to deal with the serpent soldier on the right. Up the stairs on the left is a serpent wizard. But if you move down this corridor with the soldier, This wizard can't hit you or see you. Now the worst part of Sen's Fortress for melee characters is coming up. Just up these stairs past the lightning wizard is a long, narrow pathway over a big bottomless pit. If you walk across without stopping, he can't kill you. But this becomes pretty dicey as there are some swinging blades right at the end. There is a gap between them so you can sit and take cover from the lightning, but once you pass this, be sure not to step on the pressure plates because the arrows will kill you. Hug the walls and go knock that fucking lightning prick into the abyss. Unless you have a magic attack, and then you can just hang back here and spam that shit until you're done. Alright, now we're finally at the top of Sen's Fortress. This is where the tension for a new player is at its highest, because going through that gauntlet of aids and dickhole traps again does not sound like a fun idea. The player isn't done dealing with environmental hazards either, because now there's a giant overhead who throws firebombs at you. Yes, these do hurt quite a lot. My advice? Pay attention to the black scorch marks on the ground. If the dragon didn't teach you this lesson earlier, you should be paying attention to the ground textures, because even little small details like that can telegraph incoming dangers. But sometimes the surfaces he throws these fucking bombs on aren't really telegraphed, like this walkway here. That's kinda gay. Or the texture right up here can be misaligned and the bomb drops in a place you wouldn't expect it to drop.
It's fucking raw!
Oh no, that's not even the worst part of this top area. No. The worst part of this whole fucking area in the Sen's Fortress is the secret bonfire hidden over this ledge. Now let me ask you, was this really a good level design decision? No! This is downright unfair to the player. Imagine making someone traverse this horrifying gauntlet that is Sen's Fortress, and then make the only bonfire in the area a fucking secret. Dick move.
I'm Pan, this is my partner Teller, and this is bullshit!
Why not replace this jackass Templar Knight over here with a bonfire, and then move his ass down somewhere where he might actually pose a threat, like on this pathway where the guy throws firebombs, or maybe down this ladder next to the guy with the rapier. It would just make more sense. God, now here's my tortured mind's wish list of this fucking 12-year-old game. At the top of the tower, you can kill the giant who throws firebombs at you. He has quite a bit of health, but you can kind of take cover in this little stairway. Also, remember, if you don't kill this fucking giant, well, he can throw firebombs at you during the boss fight. You can summon an NPC for the boss called the Black Iron Tarkus, which I'd recommend you do this for the first playthrough because this boss has kind of a ton of health, and if you didn't upgrade your weapon, it's gonna take a little while. I'm gonna solo him because I don't need the help, but if this is your first time, just summon the NPC for every boss that allows you to. It's a great way for you to observe them and their attack patterns before you fight them yourself. The Iron Golem, it exists. It's also a pretty boring spectacle fight, and he has way too much fucking health. Even if you upgrade your weapons, he still takes a while to bring down. You want advice? Hit him until he dies. The golem is pretty slow. He's just huge and hard to read sometimes, but usually you can tell what he's going to do based on what his legs and feet are doing. Good animation design can go a long way. Another word of advice, don't let him grab you. When he grabs you, the Iron Golem picks you up high into the air and then body slams you into the pavement, principal style. He does a lot of damage, but once he's dead, you can celebrate an easy victory against a mediocre boss. All in all, Sen's Fortress encapsulates everything a Dark Souls area should be. It's so goddamn memorable. The level design is challenging, the enemies are fun and varied, the hazards you face are always fair challenges, and the tension this level builds is so excellent. Sen's Fortress is a perfect Dark Souls area in my opinion, minus the bonfire placement, that I don't really think I can criticize it in any way aside from that. Yeah, the awkward jump to this tower over here is weird, but that's about it. You know an area is gold when people's reactions when they die to its treachery is put into meme compilations. Alright, it's time to touch this golden ring and get taken up into the next area. When the player lands in Anor Londo, they're going to immediately notice how fucking beautiful the area is, and how it probably made the processors on older consoles cry, because this is a lot of detail for the Xbox 360 era. Going down the linear path on these stairs, we're introduced to our first enemies, the guards. Now, don't be discouraged because of how big they are, they're not very fast or strong. Granted, they can still kill you very quickly if you so much as breathe on them and make a mistake, but usually once they hit you, the player is kind of invulnerable until they get back up, and they can roll the instant they're up anyways. The only problem with these enemies is that using magic against them is kind of difficult because their shields block 90% of all incoming magic damage from even the most powerful sorceries and miracles. It's best to just get between their legs and cut their dick off. In this main area, there's a bonfire down the stairs on the left, as well as a firekeeper you can trade in a firekeeper soul you got in Blighttown. Or not, you can completely forget to do it like me. If you kill the Firekeeper, she drops a Firekeeper's soul. You can use the Revive the Girl in Firelink Shrine after you kill Lautrec, which we'll get into in a little bit. Now the player has a few options on where to go, but the only other path up here leads to a dead-end yellow fog wall we won't be able to clear until we acquire a certain item. Your only real option is to head down this elevator, which takes you into the main bridge area, where you'll find a gargoyle on his own. If you remember how to fight the bell gargoyles, this guy's not too bad. There's only one of them. But now the player could potentially get stuck in this area, as there's no way to cross this gap to get to the cathedral. You can drop down here and run along this support beam though, up to this balcony into this next building. This building houses one of Anor Londo's most infamous gameplay scenarios, the rafters. Inside this building, you're going to notice 2 KKK members try and jump you because they don't take kindly to scum like you in their town. But little do they know that I'm a wizard with a big sword, so it's going to end poorly for them. These guys actually aren't too bad. If they get close, they slash at you, stand too far away, and they throw daggers at you. Sometimes they can pull out this shield and parry you, so be careful how you approach them. Magic users, psh, you guys don't gotta worry. Just spam homing soul mass until you're done. But melee fighters, especially dex characters, you're gonna have quite a rough time. Speaking of rough times, how are we going to progress in this area? I'll tell you how. By climbing this ladder and walking across the rafters. Yup! I know what you're thinking. How the fuck is this fair? It's not fair! But that doesn't mean it isn't doable. Melee characters can slowly push up using their shield to block the knives the KKK members throw at you, and then you can send them over the edge. Be sure to cut this chain right here if you're a magic build, because there's a spell hanging off a corpse that allows us to buff our weapon better than our current buff spell. Once you reach the end of the rafters, go ahead and approach this large octagonal structure and push the lever to lower it, which now connects the first area to the new area. If you're a tank build, there's a set of armor that's very useful down in that building we were just in with the rafters, but now that you're on the ground level, there's no threat of falling off the edge. Also, the Black Iron set is so good. It's viable up to endgame, even through New Game Plus, especially if you upgrade it. On my mage though, I went down and grabbed the Great Magic Blade spell because we're not a strength build, and in order to do serious melee damage, I need to use buffs. I also can't use heavier armor sets because I'm not focusing as much points into endurance, so if I get hit more than 3 times on this character, I'm basically fucked. Not on my tank though. This guy could get pummeled by the hardest bosses in the game and be like LMAO, don't care, don't care, don't care, still don't care. But on magic builds, you need to be quick on your feet, but that's kind of expected. If you don't know the timing on enemy attack patterns, then being a mage can prove quite difficult. Also, you need to know where to find spells and such, and that's a little different than finding a weapon and upgrading it and sticking with that thing for the rest of the game. For your first time around, it's just way easier to focus on a melee build and explore the game, picking up items and then coming back for a second playthrough and trying a different build. Remember, Dark Souls is an RPG, and build optimization is very much encouraged. Play one way throughout the whole game, and then you can play it again and play a different way. That's called having true content. One of the things I hate hearing when people criticize Dark Souls is that they have to grind for souls to upgrade their weapons and buy stuff, which simply isn't true, because usually playing the game normally will lend you enough souls to level up just the right amount of time. And by playing normally, I mean killing enemies, exploring the environment for soul bundles to use, and playing carefully to recover your bloodstains when you die. The player should reap the rewards of the amount of souls they gather and have a pretty fine time. And also, rushing through areas is kind of a bad idea. Think about it. When you die, you could carefully go back through that area and kill all the enemies, accumulating the same amount of souls you had beforehand, and then once you recover your bloodstain, you'll get double that amount you can dump into points into levels or even buying items. One mistake I see players make when they try to recover their bloodstain is they end up rushing through a level they're not all familiar with, and then they can get bum rushed and lose all their souls, which is not ideal. You need to take your time and kill all the enemies. And I don't know why you wouldn't do that, because you'd get more souls to spend on levels, which is why you were keeping those souls in the first place. God, fucking dumbasses! Stop rushing through games, enjoy them! You don't know when the next one is going to come out. Enjoy them. Even though there are a bunch of Souls games out and you have plenty of content to go through, appreciate them one at a time. You'll get more hours out of them. But it's also just fun to fight enemies in Souls games. They're all so unique and varied with fun attack patterns and abilities. Every enemy has a purpose in Dark Souls, and each of them have strengths and weaknesses, almost like pieces on a chessboard. The enemies are the black pieces and your weapons and abilities are the white pieces. Oh, that sounded kind of wrong. However, not every enemy in the game knocks it out of the park. Yeah, there are some shitty ones, but hey, you win some, you lose some, as the saying goes. But oh boy, now we're getting into the real meat and potatoes of anal rodeo. We've got two giants at the top of this big fucking giant staircase. These weird brain demons with lightning spears. And we also have the archers. The Anor Londo archers have claimed many lives over the years.
You piece of shit! Oh my god!
I can't say it's not warranted. Even I still have trouble dealing with them 4 years down the line.
God damn it! Whore! You're a whore! How do you sleep?
However, that doesn't make this encounter poorly designed. The two archers can be avoided through clever use of cover, but once you run up this pathway, you're on the ledge of the building. Both can shoot you from either side. However, depending on which archer you take, there is both ample cover to hide from both of them. And also, if you can parry, the Silver Knights are kind of a joke. The trick to this is to wait for them to stop firing their arrows and then run up the path so you can get in their face and block their attacks at the right times. Take care, because when they do their shield bash, they can drain your entire stamina bar and leave you staggered, but you have just enough time to recover and put your shield up again. But once one knight is down, focus on the other. The path to the next area past the archers is on the right. You can walk along the edge of the building, drop down to this balcony, and enter the cathedral. No turning back now. This is where the fun begins. You now have 3 different paths. 2 through the doors on the left or right, and 1 straight ahead, which branches off into 3 more paths that you can take. The first thing you should do is go through the door on the left and grab the bonfire and talk to our jolly old friend Solaire, who can be summoned for the next boss fight. You experienced players know the one. Now it's time to venture deeper and deeper into this area, taking on Silver Knights, Mimics, and Titanite demons, maybe. But be sure to open up this secret path right here, which is telegraphed by this little window in the wall. Level design like this is why Dark Souls is genius, and its haters are morons who don't know how to play video games. But down these steps in this dark room, there's a Mimic, be careful, and the best armor set in the game. Seriously, this thing is so fucking good. It boosts your poise to such a degree that you can just tank hits and not even give a fuck. Also, it just looks badass. Anyways, through the rest of this area, I'm going to take the legit path instead of the speedrunning path because I like Anor Londo. This is by far my favorite area in the game, just because of how it looks, and the enemy design too is so top notch. I want to savor it. The level design is literally perfect. There's so many options and shortcuts the player can take. Good loot to find from Havel's set to the Silver Knight set, Tarkus's set. It's just awesome! Also, the Silver Knights. I don't think I touched base on the enemies. These guys were once former soldiers under Lord Gwyn's army, and they do not fuck around. They hit like fucking trucks, and they're kind of fast. They can also jump back to avoid your attacks, as well as break your guard with a shield bash. Kicking them does nothing. Their shields are rock fucking solid. And also, the Spear Silver Knights are even more dangerous because they have twice the reach of a normal one. The archers, though, they're not really that dangerous unless we're talking about that one part. But if you're in a big open space like this, the arrows are so big, shiny, and slow that you can just dodge left and right to avoid them and the AI will just get confused. But I think that was kind of the point of overcoming that challenge. You're turning the tables on this enemy faction that absolutely does not want you entering Anor Londo's cathedral. It's fucking amazing. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate just how beautiful this game looks? I mean, god damn, look at it. The lighting in Dark Souls is so vibrant and colorful, the atmosphere is damn near perfection, and the textures themselves still look great even 12 years later. Anor Londo exemplifies this and is everything a Dark Souls area should be. It's big, it's atmospheric, it's beautiful, it's challenging, and it's fun to explore. Mwah! When you come into the main hall, go up and around through a hallway or drop down outside here to go through a faster way to find the blacksmith. But do be warned, if you go down this way like I do, then if you fall and fuck up, then you're gonna have to go all the way through that archer bullshit again. Yeah, I'm not joking, so be careful, gamers. And now we get to visit our good old friend, the giant blacksmith, who doesn't use a forge and a metal hammer, because if he used a metal hammer and worked on metal weapons that were infused with lightning, he'd just shock himself. So this guy has been whittling on weapons without a forge with a wooden hammer for centuries. Based? Alright, now it's actually time to go and fight the boss. Oh, wait. The black eye orb quivers. Oh yeah, it's time to kill Lautrec, the fucking cunt. We use the black eye orb and invade this guy's world. And, Lautrec, he's a gank fight. Two of his buddies, you don't need to kill them, you just need to kill Lautrec. He's kinda easy if you're a big fucking melee build with a sword that has a ton of reach, but if you're a magic build, good luck with that, cause he can dodge magic attacks. Motherfucker! But upon killing Lautrec, he gives you the best ring in the game, the Ring of Fap, otherwise known as Favor and Protection. This thing is so good, it provides a permanent buff to your vitality and endurance, so long as you have it equipped. But if you take the ring off, the ring will break forever. So in exchange for one of your ring slots, you get a permanent boost to your health and stamina, as well as equip load. Which is fine, because I really need this ring. I like to tank hits. Alright, now the thing you all came here for. Ornstein and Smo. Ornstein and Smo are the best boss fight in base Dark Souls, and I know exactly how to start gushing about them. 1, the boss theme. I mean, come on, listen to this shit, dude. Also the fact that this is another gank boss, but this is not like the Bell Gargoyles where one enemy is just a weaker version of the first. No, no, no. But Ornstein and Smo have their own completely unique attack patterns, and both of their movesets complement each other so perfectly. Ornstein is fast and nimble, while Smo is big and heavy. Ornstein does less damage, Smo does more. But Smo has less health than Ornstein, but not as cool armor. Let's talk about that. If you kill one of them first, you'll get the other's armor set available for purchase later on at a vendor. Kill Smo for Ornstein's armor, and kill Ornstein for Smo's armor. Ornstein is the type of guy that will charge you, throw bolts of lightning, stab you, slash you, and distract you from Smo coming in from behind with his big fucking hammer. Ornstein's charge ability is broken. He'll home in on you, jitter around, and then hit you sometimes, which is a little weird and bullshit, but I'm not gonna complain because I think this boss is perfectly balanced as it is. I don't really have too many problems with it on repeat playthroughs, but fuck, on my first playthrough, this boss killed me over and over and over and over again, and I just kept coming back. I wasn't gonna let this fucking game beat my ass. No! I beat Halo on Legendary, I could beat fucking Dark Souls! Also, this boss isn't really that bad if you know how to exploit their attack patterns and behaviors, because you have a bunch of pillars in this room to use as cover from both of their attacks and to break their aggro. You have plenty of space to do this too, so my advice is to take on one at a time. I usually try to go for Smo first because he's the slowest and easiest to hit, but you need to be careful of Ornstein because he's so fast and unpredictable. Also, I just want Ornstein's armor. If you focus Ornstein, he'll try to get your back turned from Smo so he can come in and smack you from behind with the big hammer. Don't let that happen. You want to keep both of these guys in view at all times. If you lose track of one, the other's gonna come and attack you when you least expect it. Once you're into the second phase of this boss, the other will absorb the energy formed from their fallen comrade and become much bigger or stronger. Ornstein becomes a giant when he absorbs Smo's power, and Smo turns into Lightning Smo when he absorbs Ornstein's power. The second phase for each is way easier than the first, because you only got one target to worry about. But Ornstein gets an all-new attack set versus Smo, who uses the same one with added buffs to damage. Ornstein is still my favorite to fight in his second phase because of his armor set. I want that shit, it looks so badass. But he's just all around a more challenging opponent. I feel more tense when I fight him. But once the Titans fall, you're rewarded with 50,000 souls and a hit of dopamine so strong, you finally recognized why this game is amazing. Because when you struggle so hard against the boss that destroys you like this time and time again, you can finally grow to a point where you conquer it and achieve something beyond yourself. You have toppled a god and proven yourself worthy to the game designers, the artists who made these games. Through Dark Souls, we can learn so much about ourselves and life, and no matter how impossible these challenges seem to us, they're always surmountable. We just need to have the grit, will, and determination to succeed where others have failed, and also asking for help is okay. Seriously, Solar's summon sign is right outside the arena. Just summon him if you can't fucking do it on your own. But if you have this mindset that you're going to win going in, and you fail a bunch of times, and you piss yourself off, it's kind of disingenuous to what the game is trying to do. The game wants you to die over and over and over again. You're supposed to die over and over and over again to these fights. You're not supposed to beat them first try like I do on my 60-second playthrough. You're supposed to die to these guys because that's part of the feeling of overcoming them. You feel more accomplished when you die 30 million times to Ornstein and Smo. But once we go up the elevators on the sides of these arenas, we get to go up to find the truth about Anor Londo. Oh man, the booby lady! Oh, look at those titties. Guinevere gives us the Lord Vessel, which allows us to fast travel from bonfires. Oh my god! Some people would think that this, kind of makes the game a lot better, but I would kind of argue to the contrary, because part of Dark Souls' beauty is the interconnected world design, so I'm going to try and use this as little as possible. But, something feels wrong. Something feels too good to be true. Usually when I see a beautiful woman with big tits like this laying on a couch in front of me, something just feels wrong. It feels like an illusion. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we fucked up, guys.
Thou that tarnisheth the godmother's image, I am Gwyndolin. And thy transgression shall not go unpunished. Thou shalt perish in the twilight of Anor Londo.
We still have another boss to take care of. Darkstone Gwyndolin can be found past these NPCs who'll try to kill you, and under the cathedral, once you turn this big mechanism on this octagonal structure that we use to get down from the rafters to connect the two bridges, and then we can go down here and then face off against the Lord Gwynnevin's transvestite ass. This guy calls us heretics who trample on the holy gravesite of the one true god Gwyn. But Euclid and Magic Mike don't give a fuck about maintaining the magnificence of God or Anor Londo. They just want souls. They want souls to grow more powerful, and they will stop at nothing to attain it. Gwyndolin is also a pretty easy spectacle boss where you chase after this femboy who uses spells and arrows like a queer bow, and he doesn't really take long to kill at all. In the end, I don't even think Gwyndolin is real because he fades to sparkles of light when he dies like his illusions, the big giant guards, the silver knights, the batwing demons, and yes, even Ornstein and Smo. And now that we've broken that illusion, there's nothing left but silence.